Hello there, people of the internet. I have made a ton of videos talking about all sorts of different firearms platforms to use for SHTF situations whenever things start to go down and not look so good. I talk about pros and cons between different systems, all the way up from like your most advanced modern technology, the best modern applications that we have, down to simple military surplus bolt actions like what I have here. You go 24-47. Of course, it doesn't necessarily have to be a Mauser. It could be a Mosin if you felt like, you know, insert your choice of firearms platform here. But it is very common in the firearms community for us to kind of bicker at each other and talk about what is and is not going to be the best platform for an SHTF situation, or some sort of survival situation, or some sort of insert your choice of bad time here. And if you like these kind of topics and these kinds of firearms, then you are in the right place. So go ahead and subscribe to the channel, because we discuss things like this in ad nauseum all the time. So anytime I make a video talking about the AR for, you know, practical purposes, or I make a video talking about the AK for practical purposes, in the comments you'll see people defending that rifle or trying to justify the use of something else for some other situation. And I've made videos talking about how, depending on the situation, if we are in a, well, if you and I are in a situation where we are in need of using lethal force for some particular, you know, situation solving aspect, with lack of better terminology there, trying to watch my words for YouTube. If we have to use some sort of lethal force to resolve some sort of situation, then in all reality, I've said this before, I don't care what it is that you decide to use. As long as you can set lead in the direction we need it sent, at whatever ranges it is that we need it sent at, then you're fine. I don't care if you go with the AR, I don't care if you go with the AK, 7.62x39 or 5.56, you know, whatever it is that you decide to run, as long as you can run it effectively and you know the platform, then by all means, go for it. Some people in my comments section will even tell me that they will go for their old school Milsurp or bolt action rifle, simply because they like the power and they're familiar with the platform. And yeah, by all means, I absolutely understand that. Something just bit me in the arm. But I absolutely understand that. I will take the guy who knows how to run a Mauser really, really well over the novice whose only, you know, firearms training is Call of Duty, and he is armed with an AK. I would take Mr. Mauser man who knows what he is doing versus the AK guy who doesn't even know how to properly shoulder his rifle, which apparently is most of the Russian military from what I can see with the battle footage that I've watched. So give me the guy with the Mauser that knows what he's doing. But I don't care what you pick, send lead properly, downrange, hit your target, you know, do your job, and by all means, you know, pick whatever it is that you feel like picking, as long as you are effective with it. Now, bear in mind that if me and the rest of my guys are running 5.56 and ARs, and you are the one guy with an AK and 7.62x39, once you run out of ammo and you no longer can, you know, send that lead downrange at those effective ranges because you have no lead to send, and we can't give you any ammunition because we have 5.56 and you have 7.62x39, then you lose your access to the resources and the food and the supplies that we have, because you are now nothing more than a liability. So bear that in mind whenever it comes to, what the hell is that thing? I'm going to step over here. There's something climbing around on the tree. Bear that in mind whenever you decide to take your pick for your go-to firearms. Now, all of this being said, the reality of things is that the odds of you needing an actual gun for an SHTF situation is pretty significantly low, short of criminals taking advantage of a bad situation, which I can absolutely see happening. There's not really much else of a need for your... What is that? Get off my face. Don't you just love Florida? there's not really much of a need for you to be donning your firearms and firearm equipment for practical senses unless things get really, really bad. There are multiple times where things have gotten really, really bad, like the pandemics that were going on and all the various riots and people burning down cities and whatnot. So yes, there are absolutely times where those firearms will 110% come in handy, and you want the most effective thing that you could use for the situations that you're going to find yourself in. However, way more often, you're going to be in SHTF situations that don't require defensive purposes. Like, for example, we just had a Category 4 hurricane hit Florida, and I went without power for a week. It's like the start of September right now in 2023, and we got hit hard. And like within hours, my neighbors were, complaining, hey, we don't have power, our phones are dead, and we're bored over here. And we have nothing to do. And I'm like, ah, man, that sucks. You should have got yourself some reading material or something to entertain yourself with. And the fact that your phones are dead means that you do not have a means to recharge them, so no power banks or solar chargers or anything like that. And then literally within days, they were standing on the side of the roads with signs begging for resources because they were simply not prepared. Now, I know for a fact that these people own firearms of all sorts of different varieties, but that's all that they own. So in way more situations, way more SHTF situations that are dramatically more likely, such as natural disasters, you're going to need different supplies besides just the SHTF guns. Of course, these right here are the things that we love talking about because they're the things that are fun. We like guns. I know I like guns, and if you're watching this, which is a gun channel, odds are you like guns. But yeah, these guys were literally on the side of the road with signs begging for supplies because they didn't have anything. And that was not just my immediate neighbors. I saw that several places around town because the entire town was without power. These guys were of the mindset of, hey, if we need something, we can just go to the store. Well, guess what? Store's got no power. Whole town's got no power. You're not going to go get resupply. The roads are cut off because everything's flooded and there's debris and trees everywhere. National Guard is out. Guess what? You're not going anywhere, buddy. So yeah, SHTF definitely matters more than just the guns, even though we like talking about the guns. We'll sit here and we'll argue all day long as to whether or not, hey, are bolt actions good enough for SHTF situation? And then you got your crowds yelling at each other, no, automatics only, or yes, they're just fine as long as you make your one shot on your one target. God forbid there be more than one target, or God forbid you have to, break context of send multiple rounds downrange, or God forbid XYZ situation where a bolt action is not going to be adequate. So I'm sure you guys can see where my arguments lay on that side of the conversation. But we'll sit here and we'll talk with each other about those things, like in ad nauseum, to a dramatically large extent, like way beyond what it is that would actually be necessary for a discussion like that, simply because it's things that we enjoy talking about. And then there's other crowds that'll, once we branch off from the bolt action to automatics, now we have the automatic crowd, where we're like, all right, which automatic is going to be better? Would you rather go with the AR or the AK? And then we'll have this little group over here who's like, the SKS is superior, stripper clips for the win. And there's some really good arguments for that one as well. As a matter of fact, I've made a whole video talking about that one if you want to go check that one out. So we'll be arguing about the automatics, what is best, what is and is not going to be the most capable in what situation, what is and is not the best caliber cartridge for the locations that you're at, whether or not you should go intermediate or full power rifle cartridges, or if you're going to be a PCC guy running around with a 9mm PCC and mags interchange with your handgun, and etc., etc. Lots of really, really good arguments out there. But a lot of it is just distraction from the things that are actually going to be necessary in that SHTF situation. You're going to need power to power your supplies and whatnot if you're going to be reliant on electronics. You're going to need a means of repair. I know several people who spent several days living in just completely destroyed buildings simply because they had nowhere to go, because there was literally nowhere to go, no way to get out of here. And they had no means to be able to repair anything because all they had was their electric tools and whatnot. They had no food, no water, no supplies, no anything. So, yeah, something like a natural disaster is going to be a much more imminent issue than a situation where you are needing to have the most effective means of a firearm. Now, that being said, with the lack of resources, a lot of it just comes down to these people not knowing how to take care of themselves, because we literally live in the woods, and it is just this overly abundant masterpiece of all sorts of things that you can go out and gather to you know, food, water, resources of all sorts of different varieties are around here in these woods. But these people are so used to just going to the store to get everything that they need that they don't even know how to begin to take care of themselves whenever it comes to living off the land. So speaking of firearms, I got a couple of rounds here for these rifles, and I've already fired my Mauser here, so I've got to clean the surplus corrosive ammo salts out of it anyway. I may as well send some more lead down range. Turkish ammo, 155 grain projectile, traveling at about... These ones probably about 3,100 feet per second, just because of the particular batch that these ones came from. I'm just going to go ahead and send this out the car if it actually fires. Yeah, that actually fired. Let's try this one. Send this one. That one was a little bit of a hang fire, but she did, in fact, fire. This would not be the most ideal of SHTF rifle, not the greatest. But if you're in a situation where it's not a SHTF situation and it's more of a survivalist situation like what we found ourselves here with a natural disaster, then something like this right here would be freaking phenomenal. Like, you could use this to take all sorts of different game from the woods that completely surrounds us, and you know, I mean, you could do this for quite a bit. We didn't have to deal with any real significant violence in this area, nothing real. No gunfights or anything like that, no Mad Max SHTF situations, nothing like that. So, since you're not going to be protecting yourself from people that potentially have better gear than yourself, then something like this would be just fine in the situation we found ourselves in. You know what, I got some 7.62 x 54 rimmed. Let's go ahead and send these through our M44 here. This is 120... No, this is 147 grain projectiles, and they should be going at about 2,800 or so feet per second. And the short barrel is going to absolutely rattle my teeth in my skull. It tends to do that. Let's send a couple of rounds down range here. Ow, that is significantly more concussive blast than that Hugo Mauser is. One more round. Ow. Literally, my ears are ringing. Even outside, like, even though I have hearing protection, my ears are still ringing just from the concussive blast that comes out of this thing. Absolutely nuts. Anyway, folks, thank you ever so much for watching. I wanted to make this video because this is a gun channel. We always argue about what is and is not going to be the best thing for your end-of-the-world survivalist situation. And that's not the thing that you should focus on, because the odds of you needing other things are dramatically more important. So, thanks for watching. I appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, share. Description below has a link to all sorts of stuff. Go check it out. You guys go off. Have yourself a fantastic day. I will see you guys on the next episode. Since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. Poor man's Garen.
Shame that bolt action shotguns aren't more mainstream.